And we're on Curiosity Engine number 10. Dees, a 1 and a 0, completed the
Deca.
Deca, completed the 10-finger cycle. It's all down here from hill. All down, all downhill from here.
Exactly. It's all uphill from up there.
From a numerical perspective, it doesn't, I mean, it's bottom 10 are really interesting.
Yeah, but we've established the base, whether we like it or not.
Yeah. Maybe you could get like some good value up to 12 because you're still in like the realm of disciples, but then you hit 13, you got to deal with people's prejudices on that stuff.
Let's not script this.
Let's not script And then I guess you could always, I guess really, as long as you're under your age, you always have a reference because you could be like, well, at 23,
Yeah.
you can always,
Alright,
you can always personalize it at a certain point.
we got a ways to go then.
We should
We got
abandon
a
the
ways.
number system altogether. We should just like go through colors at some point. And, like
Yeah.
it's like 15, blue, orange,
Yeah,
gray.
abandon numerical frameworks and just start using other models to
Yeah, add extra
label
dimensions. Add extra
Yeah.
dimensions just at random.
Exactly.
You could do it on coordinates. You could have just like GPS coordinates. Like
Yeah, we could do like the 7 wonders of the world or
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that, and
totally,
put coordinates or whatever. See, this
absolutely.
is the Curiosity Engine, folks, where it fucking happens.
Dude, I learned this crazy thing about the universe, and it kind of hasn't all the way set into my head. And I learned this years ago, and by years I mean like decades. So check this shit out.
Decades.
Okay, so the age of the universe is like 13.8 billion years old.
Okay.
And
Said who?
exactly, said who? It's based on some math that was this thing called the cosmic background radiation. So it's a funny story, but I think it was two English guys, and they were making a dish to like listen to space, and they like pointed it upside, and they had this hum, this buzz in their signal. And at first they thought it was the fucking pigeons or the pigeon shit. And so they chased off all the pigeons off the dish. It wasn't the pigeons. They were,
Oh.
I'm butchering this story, but they were like pointing their dish at the and there was just this noise that was coming from everywhere. And they have since used very sophisticated satellites that take these very open aperture, very long term pictures of the sky. And what they found is that there is a little bit of energy from the beginning of the universe everywhere. And it is like you're in the middle of a soap bubble and it went bloop. And it's like you're seeing it, everything sees it all the way around. So what they can do is they take some of that, and then they also take this thing called redshift. So there are these things called
How do they
quasars.
take some of that?
Okay, so there's this thing called a
They
pulsar.
have like special bottles.
Yeah, exactly. They have a special bottle, and they get their special bottle, and they're just like, they fill it up with quasar juice. They take it, and then
Okay.
they top it off, and then they put a couple of cherries in. They shake it, and then they. You must shake it. You
Red
must shake it.
shift. What do you do with
Woo!
so
Red-
the red shift to the quasar?
Okay, so check this shit out. Check this shit out. So like, it's the Doppler effect with light. So light's the fastest shit in the universe, right? It's a wave, but it has a speed limit. It's not infinitely fast. You can't go, we assume you can't go faster than the speed of light. We have never seen anything that does this.
Anything that goes faster.
We have seen influences travel faster than the speed of light. For example, if you take two particles and they hang out with each other, like they get cozy, they'll have the same spin. Then you separate them for as much distance as you want. Like put one on this side of the universe, then go to this side of the universe and take a step back, so it's just inside. And when one turns, the other one turns. There's this thing, Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. And it was like these, once two particles entangle, meaning they're part of something together, they will always have an influence on each other no matter where they are. And this is at the like pre-atomic level, like the smallest things that we can find. Yeah. Okay, so there's that. But then the Doppler effect. Okay, so imagine you're standing on a street corner and an ambulance comes by, right? It's coming at you, and then it goes away.
Yeah.
It kind of the pitch goes down. It goes as it's
Further
going.
away. Yep.
And why is this? Because the speed of a sound wave is set. Then you add the speed of the car, and then when it's going away from you, you subtract the speed of the car. The sound waves are still going the same speed, but now instead of they're going slightly lower, and a slower sound wave, so it elongates, the wave gets longer, is lower in pitch. So we hear that as a lower pitch. It's the same thing with light on the spectrum. If you think of red all the way to purple, there's, so you've got
yeah.
like red at one side and blue at the other. You can, if you know what the light is supposed to be, you can then subtract out the speed. If a star is coming towards you, its wavelength of light will get faster because it's the speed of the star
Right.
coming towards you plus the light. And if it's
Plus.
going away, you subtract the light.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a
Okay.
way that you can back into how fast something's moving towards you or away from you. And
Yeah.
except you need a standard candle, which is what these physicists call this shit. A standard candle, but you don't know how fast. So what they can do, they don't know how bright a star is supposed to be. So, but there are these things called pulsars, or I think it's a quasar. And a quasar is a star that emits a regular beat. It's like, how do they get made? I think it's like collapsed star cores, or there might be fucking black holes involved, but it's a real,
What?
okay, so a quasar is the brightest thing that we can find in the universe. It is so bright that when a quasar happens, it will happen for only like 2 weeks. But during that 2-week period, it will shine more brightly than all the stars in the Milky Way. So they happen about once a day. When you look at the sky, you're just looking for these like fireworks, these super nuclear star explosions. They happen like very, what's the word? They happen briefly. They don't last for very long. And when they do, they're super bright. In fact, there's like wood cuttings from like the 1300s and stuff that show when a star would appear in the sky. And then scientists have gone back and found that it was a quasar that kind of blew up. I hope I'm using the right term.
Nice. Yeah,
Quasar,
no,
pulsar.
quasar is an extremely luminous
Yeah.
active galactic nucleus
Yeah.
powered by a supermassive black hole.
Supermassive black hole. Yeah.
Mhm.
It does some
Mass
kind of,
ranging from millions to tens of billions of times the mass of the sun, surrounded by
yeah,
a gaseous accretion disk.
yeah.
Boom. It doesn't say anything about frequency.
Pulsar. Okay, so maybe it's a
But yeah.
pulsar. Well, one of those two, quasar or pulsar, one of those two. What it does is it emits energy at a very steady pace. Boom, 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 and it never changes. And I'm thinking it's quasars. All quasars do this the same. They all have the same pulse rate. So what that means is when you find one of these guys out there in the world somewhere, you can look at the light that it's going to pulse back to you while it's doing it. And you know exactly what the physics says it had to have been on its side. So then you can subtract or add the speed back in between you and it to see if it's going away from you or see if it's coming towards you.
So you have to have something.
They call it a standard candle. You know what? I'm just going to do it. Standard candle physics. What is this thing? Standard candles in astronomy. Oh, supernova. A standard candle is a class of astrophysical objects, such as a supernova or variable stars that are known for their luminosity. Yeah. But yeah, I was hoping they were going to give me another name for it, but. So you see one of these things out in the universe somewhere, and now you know the spectrum of light it's supposed to send you. And you can see if it's shifted red, which means that it's slowed down, which means it's going away from you, or if it's shifted blue, which means it's speeding up and it's coming towards you.
Yeah.
Turns out everything is headed away from us. And literally every single other thing is spreading out. And it's not just spreading out kinda, it's spreading out like a motherfucker. It's like the speed of light is a certain speed. And that's the fastest thing in the universe. But it turns out the true fastest thing is the expansion of the universe itself. Because there's only been 13.8 billion years of time in the universe, but the universe is like 93 billion, or the light cone around us is like 93 billion miles wide. It's like, how can you have 93 billion light years of space if the speed of light should only give you 13.8 billion years of space? And the answer is that space itself is going it's like every point in space is inhaling and like spreading out. And so anyway, there's not even an edge to this thing. The
It's not even
very,
an edge that we can see.
we can only see our light. We can only see the light within our light cone, and we can make inferences about stuff outside of it, but we can't perceive it. It doesn't, those signals don't come to us. And it's really fucking big. And to think that there's more out there. Yeah, there's just an edge, and the edge is literally 360, 24/7 rushing away from us at faster than the speed of light.
The
Which-
wall is forever expanding.
And it's expanding so fast we can't even see the wall. We're not even looking at the wall. We're looking at our own light fading out to black.
Yeah.
And like they're, it's just not. It's just unclear what's going on out there. And
Unclear. Yeah.
yeah,
We have
unclear.
to start explore. We have to figure out how to go faster, boy.
You know what this means, my friend? This
What?
means that literally any point, like the head of this pin, is literally the center of the universe. Mathematically, you can't. To be the center of something, you have to find an edge, and then that's your center. But when the edge itself is literally racing away from you at a multiple of the speed of light, and we don't even know if it's fixed, it might be speeding up, and yeah, there's actually no edge. So anyway, it's all, no matter where you go, you're at the center of this thing. Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
The geometric center of it all.
We're well, is it us that's the center, or is just the whole mass moving away? Is it moving at different rates in different directions? Or is it moving at a constant rate in all directions?
That cosmic background radiation has like hot spots and cold spots, so we can tell some differences.
So there
and
may be like there's some toroidal fields in this, like
There's gotta be. There's
how
just gotta be.
some dimension. I mean, if all these are like wormholes and stuff, there has to be like
We don't know if there's really wormholes. It's a theory.
or not black holes. What's on
Black
the other
holes,
side of a
black holes.
black hole?
We
Yeah.
don't know that. That's the mystery in Interstellar. That's why we got to deep dive into Interstellar. I put a deep dive placeholder in our psychedelic dojo of love. I put a little tick on there.
Blocker.
I bet you saw that announcement. Dude, so the center, I mean, okay, so like yeah, when you look at that cosmic background radiation, what they do is they rewind that and imagine that all goes down to a super tiny point.
And
then
that
they-
gives you that number of years ago.
The statistical sort of distribution of that heat might tell you something about that super, super, super subatomic thing that happened that they say inflated and made the whole thing. Except light doesn't happen until much later in the process. It's like 300,000 years or something like that. Like the let there be light took a beat.
Took a beat.
yeah. But
yeah, how's that? All right.
well, it's just about what you can measure, right? So they're
Right.
trying to, these scientists are trying to back into what can you take from the evidence that we can see from the beginning event, and what can you infer backwards about it, right?
Right.
So
Right.
that's how this
That's
theory all
cool.
comes about. I think it's insanely cool.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate honor of the physical world, right?
Yeah.
You're like, we're gonna watch your birth. It's like somebody
Just trying to know, man.
your first shout, you're born, you're like, ah, or whatever.
Yeah.
And like it's like that's the first shout out there. What does that say about lung capacity of the infant universe? Kind of stuff like that.
Lung capacity of the infant universe.
Totally.
Wonder and how old it is, maybe, or how old it will be. Where it's going.
Where it's going. Yeah.
Where's it going?
And those kinds of questions are questions that civilizations should answer. Like individuals are just not even
Yeah.
big enough to.
We're not.
We're not going to experience anything like that.
These are like like if you're at, like global questions are those questions.
Yeah.
What do we want to? Where do we want to go? Like,
Yeah.
let's rally behind what we can do together.
Dude, this all like, strikes me as just a giant ass Tower of Babel moment that we're having as a society. You think about all the amazing, cool stuff that we could be focused on solving together, like answers to these kinds of questions,
Right.
The great search for new shit is what humans are all about. Like, it's very Tower of Babel because we're all speaking these different languages and everybody's like, it's like everybody's verbal firmware and their tribe firmware is getting hacked and they're all turning on each other. That's gonna be our downfall. We're gonna get rid of ourselves way before nature does it.
Yeah, easily get, and
Yeah.
that's,
But that's the thing.
yeah,
Think about that. It will be a
do a
human,
line.
a human that
Yeah.
does inhumanity. It will be one of us that does inhumanity. Someone just like us, who's born to a mom, just like us, who grows up,
Yeah,
becomes a human, just like us. That motherfucker, whoever that person is, who's like, I'm gonna push the button, and then it's like all whatever. There's many.
yeah, it's like, if you met Hitler as a child, should you kill him? You know?
What if it's us? What if you,
Yeah.
you know what would be the really cool way for time traveling future people? They'd show up and be like, hey, Hitler, you're like 12, you're getting ready to be a man and stuff. We just want to show you some pictures of some shit. And then they
Yeah.
just show him Europe after
This
the bombing
you.
of Europe. And be like, do you know
Yeah.
how many people used to fucking live there? And then he's like, who the fuck did this? And they're like, it was fucking you, dude.
Yeah.
And they're like, there's like, wait, what? Like,
Yeah.
I'll do it
What
differently.
would
Like,
his
we're not
reaction
thinking
be
this.
to that?
We're gonna need you to take this vial of LSD right now.
Right now. In fact,
The future doesn't.
you don't have a choice.
This is actually a last ditch effort. All of
Yeah,
our peeps just want us to
effort.
pull the pin on this.
I
on this.
only have this much time to be here, and the only way to do this is what?
I want you to breathe deeply.
Yes.
No, yeah. I heard
Spray him in the
someone.
face.
I heard someone talking about. People would talk about the resource problem. We talked about this in earlier episodes. Back in the 20s and the 30s, the math was conclusive. Humanity was going to starve to death. Like the rate at which our food production was going and the rate at which our naked people production was going were just like, these are out of sync. It's like 1954, the last cherry will be eaten by the starving masses, or someone's going to kill each other over a grapefruit.
Melon.
Yeah, the last one. Right. It's like, the last coconut on the island, motherfucker.
That scene in Ice Age, the last melon.
Right. I haven't seen this. But this is
Scene in Ice Age.
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh,
Maybe I
This
saw
is
it
a kid's
years
movie.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the one with that squirrel with that nut. I might have seen it.
Yep.
At some point.
Yep.
I forgot that
Yep.
line.
Yep.
So, okay, where were we at?
We were at the last melon, dude.
Last melon, dude. Okay. Oh yeah, the world was ending. The world was gonna end. And Dan Carlin has this book, The World is Always Ending, is always gonna end. And I wanna get this one in my brain because I think he tells the story over and over. But yeah, it was like a fucking fact. And then Franz Haber invented the Haber method, pulls nitrogen out of the air, makes it into ammonia. Liquid ammonia goes into the
Yeah.
ground, and the green revolution.
Fertilizers.
And bam, we're rocking 9 billion.
9 billion. Well, now we're living off of monocrop agriculture, which is really
That's it.
good for us.
Which is really bad.
And
for us.
now all of these people, vegetarians, be eating these fake meat thinking they're healthy. But
Would
they're
you ever go to
poison.
would you ever go to like the grub farm? You ever see that Blade Runner 2049 where they're like a protein farm or they got that like grub soup or whatever?
No, I don't
You see
remember.
this shit?
I don't
Oh.
know if I've seen Blade Runner.
Oh, the new one. Yeah, it's
Really bad at watching movies. Not a
Dude,
huge movie watcher.
keep hanging out with
Yeah.
me. You'll see them all.
Yeah, no. This is the right context for me to enjoy.
Nice. It's actually impossible to see all of them because there's a lot of schlock out there, but you can certainly see a good chunk of them.
Exactly.
And with a guide, you can find your way to the best shit, which is really the way to go.
That's what I'm looking for.
Well, in the future, the world is gonna starve again, and then in the Blade Runner times, the richest dude in the world who creates the replicants, or he's the guy who figures out how to make protein farms that save the world again. It's another food population save thing. And then
Problem.
yeah, and it doesn't look like a happy future, by the way. It's like it's Blade Runner, so it's like no one wants to live in this future.
I don't want to be eating grub soup.
No. So exactly. Okay, Franz
I
Harbor,
wonder whether there'd be a way to make grubs good though.
dude, that's the thing. I think that's
I
what
wonder
they're-
how hungry I would have to be to think a grub was good.
what do you, I mean, what do you really fucking know about a hamburger anyway? If you ever hang out,
Yeah, right? Like,
I grew up on a farm with cows, and like I can tell you, cows are really interesting creatures. And then so hamburgers are like, I like hamburgers, but like hamburgers are, it's like it's almost like, sorry, cow, like,
yeah.
because it's a, it's a real thing.
But do you respect a grub like you respect a cow?
Not at all. No, no, no. That's
No.
the thing. Yeah, an insect is like, they can totally work for us. If insects showed up in spaceships, we'd be working for them. So fair's fair.
Fair's fair. We eat them here because
Yeah.
we're the bigger.
They're like, oh, look, another monkey colony for our zoo. Yay! But
Oh my goodness.
so yeah, the world is, yes. God, I forget where the bigger arc of that was going, but like, yeah, but then so we had a technological fix that absolutely averted the end of the world. Like for
Yeah,
reals.
for food,
Yeah.
food wise. Yeah,
So,
we got ahead of the curve on the food again,
and nobody saw it coming.
right?
The smartest people in the world were like, it's over. And
And
then
now we can make a lot of food, but it's moving it around. That's the problem. That and keeping those industries going because there's a lot of coordinating efforts happening.
oh,
So
well, this is, it's
supply
kind of
chain
it's
stuff,
kind of a monoculture of corporations, isn't it?
right?
It's kind of like
Yeah,
they've all got the same DNA, and they're really not, they're very fragile because they're sort of all part of one thing. Where in
yeah,
nature's like, let's spin up a million different kinds of something
right.
and then see what
Let's have
happens.
some diversity in our
Yeah.
portfolio.
Yeah. How did people get so allergic to things not working out when clearly when you look at nature, I guess it's when you look at nature, things are failing all the time. They have to fail for the whole thing to move
Right.
forward. Things have to fail. Things have to die. You think it would be cooler about things dying, ideas dying, ways of
Right.
looking at the world dying. It's just like that way of working at the world doesn't work. It's
We
like,
have more dimensions.
do you have to preserve everything?
No.
I don't think you can. I think you want good museums though, and I think you want good records. But I also think you want happy people, and a lot of things aren't adapted to the world as it is.
Yeah, well, and that's it. That's why these iterative cycles are real. Like, you need to be doing that for your mind, so you're trashing bad ideas. And as a culture, we still haven't figured out how to, do that. That's
Yeah.
the governance problem of the next 100 years, really.
Totally. As like kind of having like a teachery kind of soul, I think everyone has a little teacher in them, but mine's like lit up these days. And I think it's an education problem. I think it's just an education problem. And if you want to, what real education isn't I indoctrinate you in all my stuff. The real thing about education is like, no. Here's how you think, and here's how you
Yeah.
explore, and here's a great toolkit of shit that's worked for a long time. Go
Right.
ahead, run,
And
be free,
here's
be
how to
free.
communicate. Here's how to be a nice person and communicate effectively with people
Exactly.
and be accountable to yourself.
Totally. Go forth and prosper. Like,
Yeah. And then kick you right out the nest.
this is where that all comes back to. Damn, nice circle, God. So like, I just like saw this whole fucking thing. I heard this guy talking, it might even have been on Jerry, and he goes, everybody wants to control the population, but humans aren't really good at that. What we're really good at is making babies and like spreading out. What if we just told everybody to like, let's go? Like, let's just, like, instead of having this cap on it, we just spread out and we figure this stuff out, and we just make so damn many of us, we have to leave the planet. We got to get to Mars because there's so much. I'm wall to wall with humans down here.
Wall to wall with humans. Yeah. I mean, that's where we're going. That's where it is in some countries.
A lot of the times you hear that these crazy elites, the shadowy Illuminati, from Bavaria, from the fucking 1300s and shit, dude. Those guys, they want to like reduce population. And what I think that is the worst leadership imaginable. It's like, oh, we can't solve these problems, so let's just make them go away and we'll just keep all the coconuts. And it's like, whoa, what if you solve this a different way? What if you could find a way to demand real leadership would be like, how do we let the humans make as many humans as they want and spread out and do what they want? It changes everything. It's like, we were talking about this. Like, so instead of making a toothbrush that was like, oh, well, the toothbrush has to break down in like 6 months, and it's got to cost another $3 because we've got to make infinite toothbrushes. If you sold someone one toothbrush and it worked for forever, the solution is make more humans. If you want more customers, make more humans. If you want to make more
Right.
humans, make a better government, a society that's gonna help
Right.
the humans make more humans.
Right.
Yeah,
The humans to prosper.
humans to
Yeah.
prosper.
Right.
Isn't that kind of what's written in
Yeah.
us? Where's this moderation around the human making? I'm not seeing it.
I don't know. The Bible does say the poor will always be with you.
The poor will always be with you,
So
meaning
what does
there
that mean
will
in
the
this
society,
context?
even the perfectest society is going to have situations where they're going to have mercy and compassion for the people that it didn't serve.
Yeah,
Something like,
something like that.
how else might you say that?
I don't know. People you did like,
You're always going to have the poor with you.
yeah.
Right. Like,
It's just like a cry against. It's anti-utopian.
it's practical. It's
Yeah.
practical. It's like you're never going to perfect it. So make sure your system accommodates for your heirs.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it has mercy, right? It's like it can't just always think it's got the right way of doing it.
Feedback loop.
Yeah. Well, that's where the agile
That's
thing
how-
is good. That look at what you're doing. It does seem like that's a critical
Retros.
illness of our system these days, is it can't look at itself and be like, I'm not doing this job very well.
Right.
What do I need to do to get better at doing this job better? It's that's not coming out of the system, you know?
Dude, what do I need to do? Yeah, I've been thinking this week a lot about data and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That Internet of Things
Woo!
and what heavy data collection would look like in the future and what speaking of the big
Heavy data
noise
collection
and
in the future. Everything that crosses an electronic signal these days is being captured. It's just being captured in one place in Utah by the NSA. But go ahead, please continue.
right, yeah. But as far as like tracking of data for alignment of goals for lots of like World Economic Forum and their ESGs that they have, their environmental, social, and governance
Yeah,
goals,
it's like
and
a
then
scorecard.
how many companies that they have that have trackable data, and there's like 61% that aren't able to track, don't have ways for them to track it. So what technological innovations are coming to be able to make those types of congruencies, and then how does that pan out on a from a huge corporation level to like a human individual level, and how does when you get into Internet of Things level of data, the data we're talking about today is like chumpy.
Right, trillions of sensors, right? They're talking about
Yeah.
trillions of sensors on the earth all pumping data.
Yeah.
Remember when
it's
we were
kinda
watching Until the End of the
scary.
World? We watched that movie, that movie from like the early 90s, Until the End of the World, where, remember that one? Where she's traveling at
one?
she's traveling to all the different countries,
And then with the
dreams at the
sun.
end. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That one was a William Hurt movie as well. He's one of the Harbor family. Okay, so in that movie, they invent dream vision. So it's a technology that has the ability to bring consciousness forward in a certain way, right? Psychedelics are like that too. They're a technology, like a best way, like a telescope for the mind, right? Whatever your mind's focusing on, it's like a telescope for it. It's this was kind of what came out of the legal research into LSD in like the 60s and shit like that. Joe Rogan now thinks that like larger social freedoms, like basically legalization around psychedelics, could really change fundamentally what we're working with in this world. I think he's 100% right, because those technologies do have the ability to amplify a new consciousness. So that there's that dream tech in the movie, but then at the end she's working for green space, and green space is this idea that there's like people floating around with billions of sensors, trillions of sensors looking down at the surface of the earth, and this can all be verified. So your environmental and your social goals, they have to be verified, and there has to be some structure to hold people accountable for it. We didn't put one motherfucker in jail for tanking the global economy, which killed countless millions in 2008.
Right.
We just wrote a law that said they could do it as often as they want. You know, like they can basically just get more money out of the government without having to go to Congress. It was like a blank check for future pirate raids of, you know, whatever industry they could figure out how to fuck up
Yeah.
for some cash.
Well, that this this, what CSGs look like for banks and big money nowadays is like what critical race theory is for politics and culture.
Critical race there's like a
But for
mold. It's
banks,
like a mold on the
yeah.
body of our
Yep.
society. It's like this shit doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't mean anything, and it's so like it's so cynical. It's just so cynical on its face. It's such a terrifyingly poor way of trying to. You can't do a society that way. It doesn't. Society is
Well, that, yeah,
treat your
yeah,
neighbor as you would have yourself be treated. It's the golden rule,
right.
and it does not work
Can't
under
do that.
under a CRT
Yeah.
protocol. It just doesn't work that way.
And the ESG things are, it's just like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it feels like, what do you call it? Greenwashing, you know?
Greenwashing.
Greenwashing.
Oh yeah, totally, exactly. It's like a camouflage a corporation puts out to say,
Yeah.
"Hey, we don't really want to change or help you
Well,
with your social ills."
it's like, well, what are these like the biggest venture capital companies, the biggest banks and
Uh-huh.
these, all the national banks and how they all work to coordinate together, and how and the Fed and all these and all of that stuff, that this is their little party, you know.
Yeah, it's their party.
And
Yeah, and
uh
they're not incentivized to make solutions that are going to work for the more and more
no.
humans, 9 million billion
And
humans.
they already hold all the cap at the top. And so with
Yeah,
new technologies like blockchains coming
yeah.
and whatnot, how they're talking about great resets and whatnot. What if we're going to start putting things on blockchain, they're going to have some opportunities to squeeze a lot of people if fiat currencies devalue, and then there's UBIs on central bank stable coins, and then everyone gets sucked into, you literally won't own anything anymore, that they will own everything.
Have you ever heard about the cashless society experiment they're doing? I think it's in Sweden or Norway. You ever read about this or seen this?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so I forget. I'm just gonna say it's Sweden. I don't know. It's one of those. Okay, one of those badassy kind of countries. They got rid of cash. They just legally
Okay.
did away with it, which leads to things like this. Like during the like they did it, and then like a week and a half later, guy runs into a bank with a gun. Is like, everyone on the floor, I'm taking the money, and they're like, oh wait, and then they show him the sign and explain it to him and just calmly walk him out. Like your entire business model is not possible because
Yeah.
it's you can't do crime anymore on a black market, not for cash, not for money, because
Right.
we're going to make this digital thing the most fungible thing. I mean, the most fungible, the thing that is like liquors up society and is
Right.
like, let's go capitalism, bang bang. It's all about
Right.
money, right? It's all about, oh, I don't need to trade you goats for bananas. I'll trade you dollars for bananas and dollars for
Right.
goats, and then it all works out, right? So like
Yeah.
they just say you can't trade in other ways. That's what the dollar does too. You know, it's like
Yeah.
illegal to have other currencies. It
Right.
just so anyway, yeah, there's no cash. So they took back all the cash, and there's like little pockets of it, but in general, yeah, you can't rob anyone because they don't have something that's not trackable. If you force someone to make a transaction with you and you don't murder them, and if you do murder them, there's gonna be an investigation. You say, oh, the last cash transaction he made was you, fucker. So it's like pretty much got an
Yeah.
open and shut case there. And
Yeah.
if you don't kill them, they just go, yeah, I was just like forced to make a transaction I didn't want to make, and they just go, fine, we cancel it. And that person doesn't have
Yeah.
that money anymore. And it's like, wait, what? And then know
Yeah.
exactly whose
Talk
ID on the
about Big
system.
Brother.
Well, yes, but no crime.
Well,
More not that kind of crime.
not that kind
No
of crime.
robberies. If you've
Yeah.
ever have you been robbed? You've been robbed.
Oh yeah, I've had all sorts of things. I've never been robbed like in my
Go-
face. I've
Yeah,
never like,
me neither.
but no, I've been.
I've had my car broken into and stuff stolen, and when I'm sitting there, I'm thinking about all the ways I can enforce the police state. I'm like, it's fucking lack of punishment that causes this shit. There's like it's all humans. And so right before the kid, I'm assuming it's a kid, throws his rock through my window and like takes all my shit. It's like right before he does it, he's like, is anyone gonna catch me? Like, if the answer is no, he's like, rock, and it's my shit, right? But if the
Right.
answer is someone's gonna catch me, you put the rock down.
Yeah.
That's that Mason symbol, that floating eye on the pyramid. That was the whole concept. It's it's almost like the prefrontal cortex. It's like there is
Right.
someone watching you. It's you. So don't do the
Yeah.
crazy shit. And alcohol turns it off, which means that's why so much fucking crime happens under the influence of alcohol.
Yeah, well, there's, I don't know, kids, grown ass adults,
Yeah.
I've seen it all.
I don't think anyone's going quietly into a pure, I mean, well, they did. They went into a cashless society. But I get what you're saying. If the system's corrupt and it's like, wait a minute, these effing politicians that when they wrote the bill about calling spam numbers, they were like, oh, let's carve a few exceptions here. Oh, let's put the firefighters in, let's put the cops in, and let's put the politicians in. So I can never get off a political party's mailing list. By law, they can keep me on there for, I threaten them. I'm like, just stop calling me. The more you call me, the more I'm voting for the person who is opposed to you. Like just to put, can you put that note on my file? And they're like, we'll see you in about 3 weeks when we call you again. It's like, so it's
Damn,
like,
I didn't even know that. I'm glad I'm not on anybody's political list. I need to be gotten off one of these. Your car, or you're calling about your car's extended warranty.
oh, that's just
I
a
need to get
scam.
off. I need to get off that list.
Well, okay, so there's no enforcement and there's no mechanism to stop it for real. So my Android phone lets me say that's a block number. And when I say it's a block number, it puts on a list for all other Android users. So it's like the only way that this is working out is like the way nature figured it out, which is get into a herd and let the herd's intelligence like handle some of these informational problems for you. But
Right.
you want to be in a good herd. You don't want to be in like, the herd that's like hooking you up to a machine and draining your blood or whatever. Yeah, Peter's on. Peter's on. Peter's on. Peter's on. In a moment, my friends.
I'm back.
Yes. Okay, so I think that there's all this thing about maleness and masculinity, and is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Femaleness and femininity is a good thing? Is it a bad thing? All these questions, right? And
Yeah.
like the thing I think maleness has to add to this conversation is the only way, this is not guy who's doing it, just the male principle. The only way you get to a society that behaves itself or has any kind of laws is if they're enforced. And like the fact that we didn't actually put anyone in jail in 2008 for one of the largest open crimes in the history of the world,
Right.
and we continue to hold no one accountable. Like you can just run the NSA and go in front of Congress and the
Why?
NSA does not wittingly collect data on any, not, it's just like every tell in the world's come out of the person.
Right.
Everyone knows they're lying. And then Edward Snowden releases the documents like James Clapper was definitely lying. And so how did these entities like the NSA get their power? Oh, Congress gave them the power. But then what you're saying is that they can just run away with it. They're not accountable to Congress because they
Right.
can just show up and lie.
Where's
So
the accountability? What's the audibility system?
yeah,
And the checks back.
your enforcement function is a male function. It's like, hey, you dork, we're now going to put a penalty on your physical body. You can't talk to the other people. You're in the little box. And a corporation
Hey, you
can't
see,
have that
like-
because it doesn't have a body.
Yeah.
So it's like the
like
ultimate
Wanted.
ghost.
There we'll have like blockchain for like, the movie Wanted, that Angelina Jolie,
Yeah,
the sniper,
yeah, totally.
bullet movie, and added the weave. They read the weaves, and that
Yeah.
tells them who's supposed to be killed.
The will of
It's
God
like,
like happens
yeah,
in these
the-
mistakes in
in the
their
mistakes
weaving.
in the weaving.
Yeah, yeah.
In this holy weaving machine or whatever. Well, there'll be like tickets to be collected. Tickets, please. Like that. Tickets to be maybe we'll have like an accountability,
Yeah.
audibility. Part of it will be like the blockchain will be like, oh yeah, this person has now crossed the line. And then
Cool.
and then it'll go, probably maybe it'll go up on like although that's kind of scary too, but that's the thing. What is governance? Governance is the establishment of protocols by which many people operate together.
Yeah.
Well, now we can do that with code and have it cryptographically
Oh,
verified.
100%.
And so we just now have to start, and it's inevitable that we are starting to build those protocols. So,
I think at one point we're gonna have to hand real enforceable power over to something like a mathematical
yeah,
equation because people are clearly so damn sneaky. Like
yeah,
it's like we just passed a constitutional amendment, not during this last voting cycle this month, but the one before, that was like they send you these blue booklets in the mail. Colorado's very well run as a local government. They send this blue booklet in the mail. They send everybody votes from home because it's only citizens that can vote. However, that wasn't in our constitution. We literally passed a constitutional amendment to the Colorado Constitution that says you have to be a citizen to vote. And I'm like, hold on a motherfucking second. Are you saying we've got a lot of votes happening from people who aren't paying their share? They're not paying taxes? And the answer to that question is, fuck yeah, we do.
yes,
And I'm like, wait a minute. It's a system where the people who aren't accountable to the system financially are making all these choices about. It's like, wait, what are you talking about? Like,
yeah,
clearly that is so fucking corrupt that someone's like, oh yeah, that's how we're gonna keep doing it. It's like,
right. We haven't had good
what?
visuals on what or ways to track how
Yeah.
decisions get made down the pipeline, and that's what this Internet of Things and this massive amounts of
Yeah.
data is
Well, there's this one crypto I'm looking
computer
at here
vision.
called Climate Trade. And I don't know if it's right, climatetrade.com, but it uses the blockchain to secure carbon. I know the story of another one. I don't know if it's this
Weird.
one, but the what okay, so if the carbon in the air is the problem, and if we could do like, okay, if the carbon in the air is the problem because we're belching out all this carbon, you can just use the natural world to pull that back into the ground. Like
Okay.
like trees are carbon, and they don't get their carbon from the ground, because if a tree got its carbon from the ground, every tree would have a giant hole underneath it
Hole
where
underneath,
it had like
yeah.
pulled out all the. Where's it coming from? It's coming from the air. So
Air.
what you're saying is like the wood part can come from the air, right? So that's a cool insight that we now have in our, and then so if you just grow shit and make it alive, which that's good, that sequesters the carbon, but you can also change the chemistry of the earth and sequester carbon that way. So
Mhm.
this was a blockchain technology that was like based on satellite imagery and the ability for uh, individual prospectors to come to your land, and they can put an Internet of Things sensor in the ground, and it'll tell them how much carbon's in the ground, so it's verifiable. So you have these ninjas running around with these sensors trying to get your Bitcoin out of the ground, your carbon ground Bitcoin
Yeah,
out
well,
of the.
whatever the fuck that
Yeah,
token is
yeah,
that
they're
they're
testing your stuff.
selling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens is someone somewhere pays you as a farmer to farm in a way that pulls the carbon out of the air and puts it in the ground. That can be done. The soil gets healthier, the earth gets more alive, that environment around your house
Well,
becomes
this,
supernatural.
yeah, this is what helium is about.
Okay.
The helium is
Trying to get carbon in the ground and track it with a
no,
blockchain to make it enforceable. Oh,
it is just allowing the backbone. It's the network that can be anywhere that then it's like radio sensors that do blockchain communication and can be anywhere so that they can be like it's the network that you could tap into to tap other sensors into this network
yeah.
that can spread all of that information around
They'd have
or
to have some
wherever to
the
collect it all.
yeah, the internet of things will have to have some sweet protocols to keep everything safe, and sort of so
Yeah,
one
I
one
literally
node can't
read
take
like a
everything else.
I read a quarter of the white paper this morning.
Oh, that's cool though, dude. That's extremely interesting. That's extremely interesting. I just think yeah, the enforceability piece, like you've got a system that doesn't like punish people equally. It's like, what the fuck? Like this is
Yeah,
definitely something that math could handle.
yeah.
Like Elysium, like this movie Elysium with Matt Damon. Uh, Neil Blumenkamp was the director. He's the guy that grew up in Johannesburg. He makes all these crazy visions. Have you seen this one?
Uh, I
You
don't
we're
think I
gonna get you.
saw
We're getting you.
Elysium.
We're getting you Elysium before the sun sets. You got to see Elysium. But anyway, no,
Sounds good. Maybe watch it later tonight or something.
dude, it's really, really dark the way that these robots let some people get so rich they leave the Earth and make their own satellite, like their own satellite called Elysium. And this satellite, what's crazy is I saw the design for the satellite in books when I was a kid, and I was like 10 years old. I'd go to the library and I'd go to that section, I'd sit in the corner and I'd look at all these cool pictures of the future. So did Neil fucking Blumenkamp. And then he made that thing. And I'm like, I've seen this shit before. Yeah, it was so great. We had the same
That's cool.
Disney
Yeah.
future book in our local libraries,
Right.
him in South Africa. But okay, so the they get up there and they run their society by this like AI. This, well, it's not artificial, but it's like this algorithm. And so, spoiler alert, part of the plot is to try to get into this computer brain and change it so that it now updates the protocol to include all the poor people on the earth. And I'm going to spoil this a little bit for you, but the last scene of the movie is all of these medical droids are like deployed from Elysium. They have this technology that can essentially heal their bodies for forever, but they don't want to give that technology to everybody because then they have to figure out this problem of what do you do with all these billions of people and all this limited resources. So, you know,
So they make everybody on Earth immortal and then just start a
well,
problem.
that's where the movie ends. The movie ends with the code opens and includes all citizens, and then all citizens essentially can be healed and essentially partake in the wealth of the technology that humanity had created. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a kind of a, it doesn't tell you what happens next, but it sort of stops
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
They'll have more
that's
problems
nice.
to solve.
But in the real world, when we're talking about governance, we have to think about what happens next because it will happen.
Because it will happen. Well, that's why I love the seasteading idea. You know, if you could,
Yeah.
it would be like seasteading in space. It's just like if you give people enough opportunities to hop between stuff, they're going to go to the good place, right? And then so you sort of have a marketplace of cultures that are, some are okay and some are not okay.
So how hard is it to make a floating island?
That's what they were trying to figure out with that seasteading shit. Peter Thiel got into
Right.
that stuff for a while. He's the guy. He's one of like the 3 or 4 people that set up PayPal and used that money, like all that Tesla innovation and money, the SpaceX money, the Boring Company, that all comes from Elon Musk. That all comes from PayPal. Those early .com boom kind of things. But okay, so the .com boom, what was it? It was like, okay, we're going to connect all the houses together and they can then all trade like information and goods and services between the houses. So the wild west of that time was when things like PayPal got made and this kind of stuff. And then you have conglomeration, they lock it down. Like no one's ever going to get search. Google owns that.
Right.
And unless there's any kind of regulation, they're just going to own it for forever, right? They'll
Seems
just
like it.
Seems like it. Well,
Because they're already so far ahead.
so you have to have an honest system. I think a company, at least Sergey Brin and Larry Page, what I've read about them, the books I've read that were written by them, they would, I think, have the kind of spirit that if there was a fair system, like it was just mathematically verifiable fair, they would submit to something like that. Like, so there is this opportunity to make something that is good and like righteous in a certain way, I guess is the way to say it. And then mathematically verifiable as fair to its citizens. And then I think that it would attract the kind of people to it that would want it to happen. That was what America was supposed to be. But clearly the fruit on the tree is getting a little stinky.
Right.
At least at the federal level, for sure.
That's the thing with centralization. You can never like trust it. Like Twitter is blocking all sorts of people and working for one side right now. But in 15 years, if Twitter's still here, what is that? How does the evolve? Like,
how do we not have a system that can accept a better Twitter? It's like, okay, that's it. Everybody, 280 characters, and that's it. There's not going to be a second one.
Well, that's just a different, that is the difference between all these platforms, is what inputs you put in, what handles you have to express yourself across them.
Totally.
And that 280 characters or 140 whatever fucking characters is, I mean, you're going to be like that, or you're going to be like Facebook, pretty much. Like, where you can write books and it's just different types of content. Twitter's like wants to be fast. It's
all attacks on us all not being able to program and like make our own shit and not having a place where we can do it, because it literally, it's a platform. So it's very easy to get on it and do something powerful on it. But I think what you want is the opportunity for many, many, many kinds of that to happen so that you have, but they capture people and then they buy the laws that say you can't uncapture them, essentially. And there's
Mhm.
these okay, everyone, the corporations exist because government had this awesome power. And then we started giving that power to corporations to exist and to own things and to do stuff. It's like that's all a philosophy that we're trying out and we're seeing the fruit on that tree. But you can't punish a corporation in our current system like you could punish an individual. You can't put them in jail. You can't take away their family and take away their future and take away their ability to interact with other things. And if you don't do
Right.
that, this form of life is going to turn into the weirdest, craziest virusy demon we've ever seen and just like start eating shit alive. I mean, it'll literally be like in the Terminator movies where like it's like coming after you and you're, and like
Well, yeah, but someone will press the button, and I'll go boom or something like
that's
that.
exactly why someone would press the button.
Yeah.
Someone would press the button because that shit got out of hand. But you know what's crazy is that was the Unabomber's fucking thing.
Right.
They gave him a bunch of acid at Harvard LSD studies. He moves out into the forest and starts making bombs and sending them to Congress people to stop the technology coming from the future.
Right. Oh my God, it's coming. Oh,
Scooby Doo
that's the
moment
thing. What is the deal with everybody being scared of the future?
because it's uncontrollable. Because if
Nothing
some
else is controllable. Why are they aiming at the future now?
I think it's because individuals have too much power. Like some cray human somewhere can just be like, you know what? I think I'm gonna make the doomsday virus. Yep, that's it. Let's open this vial in public. Whatever. But and that's just the virus part. That's the nucleus problem. There's also the nuclear. It's also nuclear power. Like you can start splitting atoms, like in downtown Detroit. Don't do
Right.
that. Like because
Don't
that's
do that.
boom boom.
It is really easy, but like from like even like a like I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
Well,
I don't want to be positive about the future. It kind of
I,
bugs me when
I
people
think that
are
I think
negative about the future.
we
Like they're just like nascent about the fact that I don't even know whether nascent's what does
Oh,
that
it's a
even
hope
fucking mean?
problem. Nascent
Yeah.
is it? Yeah, it's a hope problem. You haven't told a good enough story that gives people enough hope that makes them want to cooperate with you to actually build the good future that you are envisioning,
Right.
right?
Or their religious belief makes them think that it's better to just have it all be over.
I think that's the problem with a lot of religions in the next life. I do believe there is a heaven. I think there is another dimension that our souls do actually go to. For me, heaven's the world that God's present in. Like that everyone who's there is like, yeah, there's a God. It's right above our heads. Look, and you look, and there's like a giant ass sun, like 6 inches from your nose. And you're like, oh yeah, it's definitely real, right? Like it's and that's the people there know that. So this is the eye of the pyramid. They're like, listen, it's totally got it under hand. So we're gonna cooperate and do some cool shit together, right?
Right.
Like that's heaven.
That's
And
heaven.
but if you live in like a dark world where there's no light at all, and it's like everyone's out for themselves and we're all just eating what we can find in our fingertips, right? That's like a fucking hell. And it's all a consciousness thing. It's all like a perceptual thing.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
people self-arrange into these
Definitely.
worlds. I don't think there's some giant force that's saying definitely got to go this other way. It's like no. You just find yourself in the world you have inside you. This is what the Hindus call karma, right? It's like it's just like
Yeah, well,
you
you're
get to
building your
wear
own world.
you get to wear
Yeah.
the glasses of the world that you make. You get to
Right.
paint from inside, and whatever strokes you use, that's how you have to see the world. These are the tints of glasses that you will
You're
use.
growing your own lenses.
It's exactly right. It's exactly right. You're grounding
Yeah.
your own glass and making your own worldview. So make it a beautiful,
Yeah.
clear one with a lot of beautiful facets, not some horror, like you're staring into a bucket of tar, being like, it means nothing. It just means nothing.
Right. Looks like it should fall. Jesus has to come back.
I
It's
think the
like gonna happen
worldview
in 40 years.
and the worldview that people has a hell of a lot to do with what they are able to do. So humans are making things. We're like making apes. We're like
Right.
making monkeys. We make shit. And so when you can't make shit and it doesn't mean anything, you start to lose. You're like, it's like the tools you were given by your DNA like can't express themselves. And
Right.
you can't create a solution to your problem of like raising these kids that you're making over here. And so yeah, I think your social political systems should be thought of as they could be holy things that transmit the divine message, whatever they could.
Yeah.
But the only way they're that is if they're very verifiable,
Well, yeah.
like
Yeah,
a fucking blockchain is.
you have to have reverence and respect for the things that are bigger than you, and the collective is bigger than you.
That's a good way to say it. That's a really good way to practicalize a God principle into a social fabric. It's like, that's a good, I like that. I like that. Brief Scooby-Doo moment.
Yeah, sounds good. Yes.
Thanks for the break, man. That was awesome. Okay, so all right, so we're talking about all the gloomy shit and why some people lose their will to live, right? in terms of like, but I think that's, dude, I heard the most terrifying statistic about a Native American reservation, and it was, what is that? I think it was like Pine Ridge. I think it's the Lakota. The Lakota
Okay.
Sioux had one of their reservations. I'm so sorry about the details. They had a 94% suicide rate in their graduating class from high school. 94%.
What?
They had a 94% suicide rate. Like whatever was coming from inside them, like whatever culture they were sort of being taught, there was so little use for it that they had this profound suicide rate.
That's
And
crazy.
I pray for those humans.
Wait,
I-
where is this?
I think it's in
Was I
South
zoned
Dakota.
out?
I think it's in South Dakota.
So is this
No,
like
it just doesn't make
current
yeah, I think it was like a couple years ago.
day? Wow.
Yeah, it doesn't make the news a lot. But
People are hard as fuck out there. So
Yeah.
cold.
so
Kids
cold.
just grow up, they can't go anywhere. They're just like, fuck it, I don't want
They
to
don't,
live
yeah,
here.
they don't see. Okay, so it's saying something. So okay, so the lesson I think is it's saying something about the person, if they don't see the path towards a family and meaning and
Mhm.
like just a place they can raise their kids and like have enough to eat and like be safe and like be okay, like that's it, right? I think the UN laid out like 7 basic human rights or something like that, and it's just stuff like that. It's like the right to like own
Yeah.
own the place where you live, raise your kids, like educate them and give them a better future. There's like there are these things that there's like you could break it down
You
to the
have to be
atomic
striving
level.
towards these
Yeah.
goals, or you're
Yeah.
There's probably just like some cultural frameworks that
Yeah.
along overlaid by some base needs that
Yeah.
those needs aren't being met for those kids.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
That's too bad.
Well, it's
Brewery-
yeah. Who was the scientist who said that God is a verb? I'm totally blanking on his name.
That is a verb.
He said God is a verb. Buckminster Fuller. Thank you, universe. Buckminster Fuller was this scientist who he did a lot of studies about shape. He's the person who popularized the geodesic dome. And he had this thing called tensegrity. And tensegrity is the idea that things in a living system are in a dynamic tension. There's a push, there's a
Right.
pull and a push with everything. And that fragile systems are non-dynamic. So he would create these shapes that would demonstrate tensegrity. They were like steel poles, and they were held together by like iron, stuff, but the whole structure could receive force from different angles. So it was a very stable structure, just like nature would make a tree that
Like
isn't
those
like,
balls that expand and shrink.
Yeah, that would
or
be-
open and close.
open
That'd
and
be
close,
one of
that
those,
they're like
yeah.
geometry. That's exactly right.
Right.
Those are all examples of transferring energy from one part of a shape to another. And tensegrity was this system of making elements that would do that, but then he would like take it to the next level, the brain level, the mental level, and be like, well, you could have like social tensions be balanced and stuff. He did
Right.
these calculations in the 50s about resources on the earth, and there's enough resources on the earth, but the problem is that us our like chimpanzee brains like want to hoard shit. So
So we
it's
have to have too much stockpiled.
it's the stockpiling thing and the wars to do the stockpiling that make it all like a nightmare world when it is. And if you take, but he was
It's all
basically,
green.
yeah, it's not, it's the human thing. It's humans understanding what humans are and how we're motivated and how we work. That's the
Yeah.
real problem. It's an educational
It-
problem.
Yeah, that's like it's just like fire, and hot and cold, like
Yeah.
sinks of heat, and
Yeah.
how heat moves through mass.
Peter,
or whatever.
do you feel that we are a solvable problem? Do you feel like it would be possible for all the people to understand themselves well enough to know how they could cooperate with just the people around them? And if you add it all up, it works out okay. I feel like that's a doable thing.
I mean, yeah, there's nature is full of order, and yes, it ends up chaotic, but it's
You're right.
it's alive.
Yeah.
We're just an
We're
extension
part of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we, to understand ourselves, we should just like watch the natural world, and like we should do great science. We should get to other planets to be able to study them. If our
Right.
Earth is 4.5 billion years old, can you imagine if you rolled up on a 9 billion-year-old planet somewhere? Can you imagine the kind of chemistry going on inside the life? Like
Right.
it would
What
probably
would that
absorb you
teach
as an
you
acid
about?
immediately. But you'd have to like kind of safely do it. But
Right. Well, what technology, what extension of yourself would you have set there already,
we
and
the Google Doodle the other day
or
was the
how many extensions of yourself will you be able to send to all those different planets before you find one that's good, that's crazy, and you want to go? And what are you going to learn from all those places
yeah.
in the meantime?
These are multi-generational technological problems, right? Like
Yeah,
space travel is a multi-generational technical problem.
right.
Humans have to understand themselves really well to organize themselves in a way that can make a multi-generational project like that kind of work. I just, okay, so the whole, I believe that that what we're really doing is we're trying to understand ourselves. We're trying to understand how we work. And if we could just wave our wand and everybody really understood how they work, it would be, I'm not saying everybody would just be logical, but, and I'm not saying you can simplify human motivation down to that, but my God, to know the effects of your actions. Like if I just act like this and do this on this little level, it adds up to this tsunami of bullshit when 5 billion people do it. And the tsunami of bullshit
Right.
so sophisticated and difficult, but it's actually just made of people making sequential choices over and over again that are not good.
Yeah, well, can we
Mass
build,
hysteria.
can you build the right mirror and teach people,
Yeah.
and then people can see themselves for
Okay.
what they are?
I think we can look towards technology. This is going to sound so cray-cray, but if you think about what are the industrial processes that led to the ingenuity that allows us to talk to each other through a couple of dancing light pixels on the screen, right?
Right.
Like that stuff. This is agile. This is this iterative process of innovation, right? Innovation could be thought of as like an iterative process. If you want to
Uh-huh.
make more of it happen faster, you have to do something, look at what you did, look at how it solved the problem you tried to make it to solve it for, and then improve it. And then do it again and again and again and again and again and again. And this is why that's at least part of the reason, that approach is part of the reason why SpaceX just leapfrogged all the governments of the world and is launching crazy amounts of weight into space.
Right.
In
Just their management
the paralysis
framework.
this kind of
Yeah.
this is kind of like a super black pill conversation on one level, like this kind of paralysis that people feel where there's no hope. I'm gonna take my life, I'm just gonna get rid of myself, I'm not
Right.
contributing or whatever. That's a kind of paralysis, and in life paralysis is death. And so you could almost say
Yeah,
that
if you're not
life is
moving, you're dying.
movement. If you're not moving, you're dying.
You're dying.
And the
Yep.
world is changing. And so all of like the sob stories about like, oh, I wish it was like it's like, it sounds like you're getting a little still and you're getting ready to die with that shit.
All right.
It's like, I'm alive, I'm filled with energy. I'm gonna like fucking focus and like get it done, like
Yeah.
do shit. But anyway, you also
Exactly.
but I also think the agile thing is like, you don't have to know the full thing. You can just lean into your best guess as to where the future is. You don't have to see the whole pattern to have the complete 9 record set of the whole opera. You can just be like, what's the next track? and just like dive into it. And what's nice is that when you get moving, it's really through making that the meaning comes. You're solving
Right.
your own, it's really solving your own problems. That's like basic human primate kind of stuff, right?
That's all you're doing ever. Like
Yeah.
how much you like whatever you're like in your head giving to God that God's like
Yeah.
you're doing you it's all the shit that you're doing. I don't know how you
That is
you're
my
slicing
favorite.
it differently.
That is my favorite reason to pray for praying. And when I start fucking up my praying and I'm like, God, I'm just not praying as much as I usually do. It's because I forgot this one little thing that I can actually take all the shit that's not working and give it to a higher power and expect good things to happen. Now I'm not sitting there idly. I'm praying about my shit. And then I'm like, oh, I have an idea. I write it down. I capture, I organize, I clarify, I put it on its context list. I go do that shit. I'm like, and I give the credit to God. I'm like, thanks, God. But it's not like God, manifested something for me here. God already made me. That's enough. I can
Yeah.
take care of this one.
That's why you're the fucking temple.
Yeah, exactly. The temple. We exist in this insanely complex environment. I was going back and re-listening to all our early Order of the Tau, where we're talking about
Oh,
the
yeah.
migration. 95% of human history, we've been hunter-gatherers, and just 5% we've been very short period of time, we've been agricultural.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so why did we just think about those people hanging out? They've been doing stuff that we've been doing it for fucking ever. And then they're like, why would we start doing it this way? And so agriculture starts the whole process of civilization. You got to organize people in these larger and larger groups. It's like we create, and you and I had this insight together, but we like created a set of little problems like, oh, well, now you need more granaries, and oh, now you need roads between the granaries. Oh, now you need more houses because there's more people. It's just one continuous thing.
Yeah.
Like you
What's
just
next? What's next? What's next?
well, this
That's
is the apple.
human.
Isn't that the apple moment from the Bible in a certain way? Like, I don't know about good and evil, but it's certainly technology is a kind of apple that once you start, like, what kind of problems am I solving? I'm like, oh, I've got this lighting grid behind me and it uses this microprocessor and it's made,
Right.
my ancestors never solved these kinds of problems. And are
Right.
these real problems? They're not real
Yeah.
problems to my
What
ancestors.
problems do we want to solve?
There you go.
Yeah.
Focus and flow, baby.
Back to focus.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, where are you focusing? Where are you flowing? Where's the energy moving?
Yeah.
And then iterate.
Attention economy.
Attention economy. I got myself in such a state. We just started this climbing the holy mountain, which is like this
Right.
adventure we're going on, right?
Mhm.
Which is like requiring a lot of like introspection and like prayer and thinking about how it all works and stuff. The way my brain works with this giant mountain climb in front of me, I want to like start 10 other awesome projects. And here's the thing. My subconscious, my awesome mind is like, here's all the details. Here's exactly what you do. And I'm just
You're
like, I'm like looking at a plan for this awesome project. And I'm like, oh, we got this other one here. It's just like, it is. So there are levels to the game is what I'm trying to say. I'm having to get mature about when I actually am like, diving into the next cool thing I can do. I've got too many cool things to do.
Well, how do you? Yeah, your portfolio of ideas.
Yeah.
Needs to be like
Calling.
Manage.
Well, what it's like staring into a fountain of water, and you're just like, there's a lot of water coming out of the fountain.
You've been drinking out of a water hose.
I think
that's it, dude. Life is like, that's what we should take from Twitter.
Yeah.
There's too much shit going on.
Yeah.
You can't take it all. No one can.
No one can. And not only that, but like, we were talking about this I watched a lot of our old episodes recently. The concept of the cove. The ocean, the internet's an ocean. It's an ocean of vibrating electromagnetic electron media. It'll dance, it'll sing, it'll yell at you, it'll chase you, it'll scare you, it'll make you fall in love, it'll teach you, it'll hurt you, it'll just do it. It's just like this weird, crazy fucking.
Yeah, it's a fucking trip.
It's a fucking trip. And what you want is a little cove, and you want to sit on your beach and eat your little fish and your mango.
Right.
And then somebody comes in with a boat once in a while. I was like, hey, here's the news of the world.
Yeah. It's like, exactly. I'd like a 9 a.m. update. Only things I care about, and I don't want to be brainwashed.
How about once a month? You sit down and have a real good 2-hour conversation with the boatman about what's happening outside your cove, and he tells you everything you need to know, and then he goes, and you go back to coconuts and mango or whatever.
Yeah. I need that space.
You need
that
space. Because like, what is life? Life is not like, let's drink as much from the fire hose as you can. You got to actually get on with feeling good and um, being with God, really, and you know, doing what you are called to do, what your heart tells you
Yeah.
you want to do. It's like, otherwise, what the fuck's
Might
the
be too
point?
much. Yeah. Life on the beach next to the cove is not very chaotic. I wonder what problems you'd be solving there.
I would like my cove to have like a SpaceX manufacturing facility right next to it.
Okay.
I love the idea
Yeah.
that I feel like as much and as hard as I try, if I'm being completely honest, I probably haven't broke like 18 or 19% of like my potential in this life. I feel like I could do so much shit given the opportunity and the resources and the, you know, but still 19 feels a fuck lot better than 17, which feels a fuck lot better than 13.
Yeah.
You can't help but just try harder. You know?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Shit. I agree. Gotta
Yeah. Well, the potential is really infinite. Do you think? I don't think there's a limit to it. I think that if I took everything I had in my heart and my mind to do, and I just did it all, I think I'd be a new person when I did it. And I'd be like, what's next? You know?
Yeah.
Like,
Huh.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've never
There'd
even
be
thought
no
about
limit.
that
You'd just keep
before.
going. Yeah, yeah. There'd be no. You'd be like the emperor of the universe. You'd be like, what other universes are there
Yeah,
available?
it's like Thanos.
Well, maybe like how about like is there a Buddha Thanos? Is there a Buddha
Yeah.
Thanos? Like, you know, like the truly realized individual self, you know? That could
A
because
Buddha Thanos. I agree. But it's just like that level of like
yeah,
power pretty much that you're
right.
just like sitting on top of.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Because you're it's like it's power. What is it like we've like let's accomplish you're saying accomplish your like complete human potential. And you're like, let's keep eating, man.
Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Fucking going.
I think that I think okay, now imagine how much cooler that adventure gets with a bunch of people around you, like a bunch of friends that are also on
Yeah.
the adventure. Then you're willing to die for it. Then it's like, of course we'll die for this greater mission. You know, it's like it's the way humans have organized themselves for forever. You know,
Yeah.
it's just so
It's
beautiful.
how it's how people get shit done.
But what we're kind of saying is
Do
like
big thing.
the essence of this happy life is sort of these warm connections with these other people while you're doing cool stuff. I say doing cool stuff. I wonder if you could, I bet you could have a society where you weren't, I find myself absolutely transfixed by activity. I just love it. I just love it. I know I could just sit here and
Yeah.
just like chill infinitely, but when I feel I also okay. I feel like I chill and I get down to the still center point of it all. And I get so filled with life and so inspired. I can't sit like we got to do something with this. We got to
Right.
not
Right.
this is not a sit still moment.
Anymore. Yeah. Like you
Yeah.
had to go there.
Right.
And now you're ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're ready to come out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know,
Feel you.
you were talking earlier about that Wanted movie. I love the premise of their weaving guild because check this shit out. Weaving was where the first computers came from. The concept was okay. So when you weave, you've got a warp and a weft. There's like two. There's like well, there's warp which goes one way, and then weft that goes the other way. And then okay, so you've got this frame of threads, and then you have the shuttle, and the shuttle has more of the thread on it, and you run the shuttle through, you tighten it up, and then the top and the bottom change places. This is
Mhm.
this is on like a machine. But if you had to do it by
Right.
hand, you would just be weaving all these little threads together. And
Right.
so there was I forget the age, but this is close to where I lived in Missouri, in Kansas City, Missouri. There was a museum that had all these ancient or the very earliest forms and several generations of weaving machines, and it was amazing to see them all in person. And what they figured out was that okay, so if when you're passing the shuttle across, you can go over a thread or under a thread. And if you go over a thread, the color of your thread is visible. If you go under it, it's
Right.
the weave
Right.
it's the other structure that's visible. So anyway,
Right.
if they started to think of images on woven fabric as binary. This is the first pixel
yeah.
fucking map. They were like, okay, so if you wanted a river, you'd have
They went
these.
2D on
They went
themselves.
2D on it, and they came up
Yeah.
with punch cards. So they would have these punch cards that they would put in, and they would move the machine, and the machine would do what the punch card did. Next punch card, next punch card, next punch card, and then you didn't have to sit there and determine by human logic where the river started and the bank stopped and where the sky started and the little thing you're weaving. You could just punch, 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 and you'd get one, and then you just did
Right.
something that took 100 hours in like 3 hours. And so now
Right.
you're making a shit ton of these blankets that have this nature scene on them, right?
Right. Yeah.
It was that kind of structured mechanics that led to the first punch card computers, which used the same dynamics before they switched over to electricity.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
okay.
So computers,
Counters.
these meta machines that you can go in and program to do whatever, many things that just wouldn't be possible if you were dealing with sticks and wool and rocks, right? It's just like extra shit that you can. It's still the physical universe, just its principles manipulated. You think about that, like these early weaving machines are this it's almost like the first layer of technology that can get information.
Fabric,
they can get information.
It's all about the membrane, dude.
Yeah. Structured mechanical information being recorded. So you would look at this dynamic. It's like the machine making something. Oh, it's inanimate. It doesn't do anything. But then God, the ultimate animating intelligence and force, speaks through it and like makes a little mistake, and then that's how you can interpret the will of God is how it affects your technology. Yeah.
The golden thread. That's what Jordan Peterson and John Vervaeke are calling God in their psychedelic or conversation that might as well have been psychedelic episode.
Tell me this guy's name.
John Vervaeke.
Nice.
He's a good guy.
Nice. I'll check this out.
You need to listen to him more. You're gonna get ahead of me so fast.
Oh, dude, I don't think so. I am. You gave me those Jordan Peterson biblical series, and I'll listen to 10 minutes, and I'll take me 3 days to be like, okay, next 10 minutes. Like it's so fucking heavy. It's like
really heavy.
It's really heavy. It's fun, but it's really heavy. Okay, so Carl Jung, anima mundi, the soul of the world. The concept that there's one set of rules to run the inner world, and it's the same set of rules that we use to run the outer world. And we don't rerun them, but like we're affected by the same physical principles. So there is only one of us here. There is only one thing being, palpated or whatever. Anywho, what I like about their machine. What is the thing?
in even that context. No,
exactly. Where does it start? Where does it stop?
Just like
we're in time processes. But so I love the idea that like God's will can be expressed in the physical world. Is like, oh my God, there's like this is the change or whatever. But if it could affect the weaving machine and it could touch the weaving machine, it could touch everything.
You can touch everything.
And you're part of everything.
Yeah, and that's what Wanted was trying to
there's probably a lot more subtle
grab onto.
Like there's a lot more subtle sort of matter in your head connected to your language center that could be, affected by the movement of spirit, let's say, to inform a divine communication.
Yeah.
But you have to draw a line around it at some point.
You do. Where do you do that? Who decides? Who's right?
Well, and that was
you listen to
that system required trust, right? That Morgan Freeman character, which spoiler alert, he turns out to be the bad guy. He stopped listening to his own system. It was like he was running a blockchain, but he started to fuck with its code or something. It's like,
right.
That's why trustless verification is awesome.
Right at the end, huh?
Well, and it's human. It's just human nature, I think. And like the Constitution had checks and balances built into it. The tricameral mode of government came from the Iroquois. The Iroquois set themselves up in the similar triple body, and that's where the framers got the ideas for the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch, being three different tensions between these things. The problem is the system is sick as fuck, and there aren't tensions, and there isn't accountability, and it's clearly broken in so many ways. And it's just about how long
he's fucked up.
How long can it stay broke before people are like,
Yeah, but what system isn't fucked up?
They're all fucked up.
And
Yeah.
and so
But ours is definitely
blend-
hemorrhaging.
yeah, what does the new blend look like?
Yeah.
What's the next level? What's the next evolution? What are the principles you pull out of the old systems for the
I
new system?
think what Dan Carlin teaches us in this book, I haven't read yet, but I'm assuming, is that there's always some cultural end that you have to cross over, but it is in our human nature to do so because we've done it so far. Like, right? So,
Cultural end crossover.
like the end of the Roman Empire, that was fucking the when the temple in Jerusalem was brought down that King David made, the Jews were like, "What the fuck?" Right? I mean, as a people, they're like, "That was the center of God's everything."
So disrespectful.
Fuck you! That was just this
Yeah.
one place, and it was ours. And goddamn it, like what's up with
It
this
was
shit?
big and pretty and it was made out of big
Dude,
rocks.
it was
They made things out of big rocks back in the day. Our shit doesn't last for any time.
we don't,
So
we're more
shitty.
agile. We're more agile.
Anything I make is gonna made out of big rocks.
Yeah, but we're making houses for billions here, baby. No one's got time to mine all that fucking granite. Although it's around, it's around.
I
You can
like
make granite
granite.
houses. Yeah. But no, dude, that was the resting place of God on earth. They created the perfect. First off, David comes along, which is like a genetic kind of cultural creation. You know, this human that pleases God through the music he makes or whatever. He gets God's presence to park physically in the place. You know, the Shekinah. It was I've read a little bit about this. It's like they had this like veil around it because it was so fucking bright and shit.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear these stories? I don't know if these are real.
Kind of glory. Yeah.
I need a time machine and a lot of energy to run it to do it to really find out.
The
But
most
like
holy place.
they would put ropes around the
above the
priest.
Ark of the Covenant.
They would put a rope around the priest who was going to go in and work behind the Shekinah because those motherfuckers died in there and they didn't want to. It was like a nuclear incident.
If they weren't like cleansed or whatever, or they would die and they would pull them out.
They would die. Yeah.
There's different levels in the temple, just like there's levels in a dojo.
Levels in a dojo, and also like stages of a transformer when it's going from like, you know, government level labs voltages to like neighborhood voltages to like my house voltage to like just with this one light needs voltage.
Right. Exactly.
So I think, okay, so Anima Mundi, there is one set of laws and principles running all of this. I think it could kind of extend into the social too, although it gets crazier. So it's like Carl Jung was saying, listen, we've colonized all the space, we've occupied all the space, we've done all this stuff. The only place that modern man can really go is inside. Look towards the core. And looking towards the core, you will first meet your anima or your animus, the inner guiding principle that comes before the self. If you're a guy, it's probably a gal. If you're a gal, it's probably a guy. But who knows? There's no rules about this stuff. I'm sure there's exceptions. So
it's inside you, not me, man.
Yeah. It's all you're the only one that's gonna know if you're like pretending this is real or if you're like actually doing it. It's something meaningful for you, right? So go nuts.
Go nuts.
Go nuts. But yeah, you make the trip inward, and then there's like these guides that lead you, and they are your inner anima. It will sort of inform your thinking and your focus in life and your choice of interests and the activities and the people you meet and the synchronicities that happen and all this stuff. And eventually you will come to the self, and the self could come as like a wise figure in dreams. But Jung was saying that after psychoanalyzing thousands of people, it always comes. There is some contact with the self that everybody has. It's almost like it's a part of who we are as psychological psychic beings, whatever we are. We sort of have to contact that center at some point to like
whatever we're doing,
make it happen.
Not conscious of.
Yeah, and
whatever processing that's happening in the background.
Well, and when you get to this center, the contact with the self, being with God, essentially changes you. It grows you. It deepens you. It makes everything more intense. It ups the volume. It ups the ante. It ups the meaning. There is something worth living for, and there is something worth doing and worth doing right in this world. And it's
feel it.
Yeah, you feel it.
Feel the center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like the game is to
It's
draw
empowering.
from there out. It seems like that's the game to me. That
Right.
broadcasting from that centered
Don't hide
place,
your light under
you're-
a
bam,
basket.
right there, right there. Totally. Yes. And so the outer world being so chaotic and going through these tribulations, it will ultimately settle down. Hope, you never know, but it always has.
Yeah, it's always
This might be the last time we ever try civilization ever, but
Yeah,
maybe if we just look at just slightly into our history, we can see that people have felt this way so many goddamn times.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody always thinks the world's gonna end.
Everyone always
They're
thinks the world's
always
gonna end.
wrong.
Yeah. But worlds do end. The Roman
Yeah.
Empire stopped, like whole cultures end, things stop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep, definitely. But the amount of people that cry about it ahead of time just fucks the stats. So you're not
Can
supposed
you
to.
imagine if you were like eating a gun in 1935 because you're like, the world's just not gonna have any food, man. Crack. And you're like, dude, they invented fucking ammonia. Take it back, take it back.
You take it back, yeah. Or yeah, well, that's the same. Crack.
Well, it's like,
Uh,
yeah, it's like it's not, it sucks because suicide rates are as high as they've ever been, and people are more depressed and people are more down now than they ever
Yeah,
have
and we're
been.
on the fucking cusp,
Yeah, we are.
bleeding edge of
It's
civilization and technological like wetness.
yeah. What it's not, what it's not doing? Slowing down.
No.
It's not, all these effects are only going to be more amplified as more time goes forward. They're not
Right.
slowing down.
Yeah, no. What was the only thing that the only thing the only thing that never changes is the fact that everything changes, or
Yeah.
that
It's like
things
the
change
Buddha.
constantly.
The Buddha, dude. Like the only thing that's constant is change, right? The only,
Yeah.
like anything that is
Change
just
is eternal.
give it a beat, it's going to turn into something else. And you're right. I mean, dude, our civilization is not going to last for forever. It is going to come to an end. And, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you just theoretically, you're just rolling the dice on the whole thing. It's gotta end sometime. I mean, our little version of it, but also just people. I mean, stars end,
Yeah,
galaxies
well,
end.
yeah, but how did we have we seen the evidence of them ending before?
Yeah.
And then maybe we should start thinking about like yesterday how not to get smacked by a big ass rock, and how we
These
could
are,
be prepared looking for that shit
This
to
is it.
come at
This
us,
is it.
because it's like a big
the
problem
only thing you got to figure out.
or something, to be ready to not have a rock hit us.
That's all you have to do. You just have to figure out, what are you going to be doing until the end? You just got to find something to pass the time.
Right.
And I think like everybody
I
banded.
am a lifelong proponent of figuring out how to not let a big ass rock hit us
Yes.
like the size of hundreds of nuclear bombs.
It's so basic. It's like it happens all the time. We know it happens. It will happen,
Yeah.
or we'll have to do something
There's
about
certain
it.
times of the year
Yeah.
where it's significantly more likely to happen.
Exactly. Meteorite showers, 100%. Yeah. It's like, yeah. But I think here's the psychological piece about death. It will happen. We're all good. The life is a death sentence, right? To be born is to die, baby.
I know.
You're like, buy the ticket, take the ride. It's like,
yeah.
it's like, in a certain way, it's like the avoidance of the death and the suffering becomes the source of the suffering. It's like so much of the COVID thing. I mean, like on balance, like it was the fear. It's the fear,
Right.
and it's the anxiety, and it's the shit people
that-
do to each other that is the worst part of it than the virus.
Right. Shit, that's that thing in Dune where the mom's like, let the pain pass through. Let the pain
Yes.
pass through and be not, or whatever. Not. It's like breathe through it.
Breathe through it. That's it.
Yeah,
Don't
that's the
resist
whole
it.
principle.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Well, and then the voices when he's in the spice trance are like, look for the friend. And then there's that guy sitting there and he goes, life is not a process that we can understand by stopping it. We must flow with it and merge with it to understand it. I was like, that's the zenest shit I've ever heard. Like, that's amazing. And that's that, but that's it. It's like you can't stop it. You aren't going to stop it. You are a transitory phenomena. Like, your body is at least.
Yeah, your body is at least.
Yeah, your body is. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
this
Totally.
ticket, this yeah, this consumable has an expiration date.
Well, and this is why I throw around the word psychedelic so much, even though it gets me into trouble. And this is why I talk about the psychedelic dojo of love. I think psychedelics are a legitimate way that people can come in contact with their eternal part of them, the part of them that doesn't get older, doesn't get younger, doesn't change at all. It's been here, will be here, will always be here. Its nature is to be, not to incarnate or to change it a certain way. We're a part of it. But like our local selves are like the froth on the top of the wave that it is, right? The oneness of it, the thing that is alive that's at the core of all of us, the self. And where was I going with that?
It's an interesting yeah.
Oh, psychedelics, because once you experience it, it's a fact for you. It's something, then you start raving
Right.
about it to your fellow monkeys. You're like, oh my God. But it's true. There is a part of us that doesn't change. And that's an important part of us too. And I think that understanding that part of us, I think, is the key to us participating with each other in a love protocol that actually works. And because we are love in that place. And when we're consciously aware of it, not theory on the wall, not granddad saw it one time, but like I just saw it this morning at 8 a.m. I confronted the eternal love nature of reality within myself. Then I went to work and I saw my coworkers and I had to deal with them. It's like, it's like, that's what you want. You want that profound leveling effect just at the edge of every social interaction.
Yeah.
In my view, that's what you want.
Yeah, you want to be, yeah. Well, it's like you're flowing and excited about the next. You're growing in every area. You're trying to grow, or you've got
Contact with the self promotes growth.
Goals.
Yeah.
Like you've got where you're going. You're lined up. You've got enough stability in.
You're a happy monkey.
Thing you're throwing yourself at. You have expectations.
You're a happy monkey in an environment where you've got the resources to like build the shit you want to build.
Yeah,
and,
you're managing
make value.
Change.
Yeah,
you're managing change.
I like
literally.
That. I like that.
Yeah.
But this is where art is so important, because art is and creativity is sort of the thing you make.
Controlling change. Yeah.
Creativity, it can be like the response to all the stuff you're taking in too. It's you putting something back out into the world, where so much of now the world just wants to come in, you're like putting something back out, but really all the stuff that's coming in is what other people are putting out. So if you're, if you're getting garbage in, it's because other humans, not AI just yet, is like
garbage.
Because why? It's like they're focus on the source of your inspiration. Like, make your message good, make your message holy, make your message. If you're sending the good shit out all the time, all you do is turn on the TV and start crying with joy because the world is so fucking beautiful,
Yeah. 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 If you're actually feeling feeling the love with the community around you and spending any time oh my goodness, it's gonna slip me, it's gone. Something about sunsets being sunsets be like like something about life and sunset.
Nice. Like you're like, are you living for a sunset moment?
Yeah, something like that.
Are you looking for
find it?
Looking for a sunset?
There.
I love it. I live at 8,300 feet. And when I see the sunset, it's this enormous volume of air that gets just lit up with color and light and shadow, and depends on the exact moment of the sunset, how much clouds there is, or fog, or rain, or snow, and wind. And it's just, something as simple as light traveling through atmosphere, just light traveling through a lot of particles, creates this just overwhelmingly beautiful effect.
Yeah.
Sunset. It's there every day. And it happens in the morning if you can wake up early enough.
Yeah, you can watch it. You can watch it peel open and then watch it close for you.
And then, dude, last night or
I
the night
love
before,
watching the sun come up
it was
here.
beautiful. It was extra cold outside, so the sky was extra clear. I just wandered outside onto my porch and like it was like middle of the night, there were no lights on, and it was like, holy shit. It just the sky filled with stars. It will do it every time for me. I'm like, maybe I should rethink things. Like maybe, maybe it's a really nice companion, like being in some stretch of infinity like that. So you can kind of like reflect on what you do and why you do it. And yeah, just make sure it's
Yeah.
aligned as much as you can.
Well, it's that open it. It is, that's the iterative cycle, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
You're like really close to the, but it's also the, we're playing those heartstrings of the world as we spin around it.
Yes, yes. The magnetic bands of the Earth's
Yeah.
magnetic energy are resonating, and we are living in those. We talked about this. That's why I think people are going to go nuts when they go to Mars. And by nuts, I mean they won't even. They'll realize that our dreams in our little sphere, when they leave they'll get a certain distance away from Earth, and they'll be out of contact with all of the memory resonance here, and then they'll be
Yeah,
in
well,
open space. It'll
they'll
just be
be
them.
with, yeah, just them.
Yeah.
Like all of their own personal
First time humans
mix.
potentially ever got
Yeah.
away. I mean, depending on
far
how you,
enough away.
yeah, where they're like, wait, what? Like your dreams would just be like a brr. Maybe who knows what's out there? Maybe it's alien dreams. We've talked about this before.
Maybe it,
Yeah,
alien dream.
totally. You get out there and you're picking up some kind of television set on your inner voice channel. It's like, wait, what the fuck? I'm hearing ads in here. What? And it's like, yeah, the Earth's magnetosphere shields you from alien mind ads that are just like
That'd be
spam,
crazy.
like been spammed throughout creation by little
Yeah,
biosatellites that
I
just
wonder how
broadcast.
far away. I wonder what. I wonder what it's like to be like
Yeah.
on like path. Like I wonder whether there was like any difference in like as far away as the moon, or
Yeah,
you
yeah.
gotta
That's
know.
that Edgar Mitchell story where he was salt of the earth astronaut, saw his dead father and had like a full on conversation with his deceased dad for like 30 minutes in the space capsule on the way back from the moon, and was like, wait, what is going on with consciousness? Because it might have just been, yeah, he pulled away from the Earth's magnetic signature. It's a bubble, it's womb, like
Uh-huh.
children leaving the womb. It's like they're gonna go out and become something else. That's us and Mars.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's cray.
Shit.
But what a cool adventure. I think you could have,
Yeah.
my thought is, I think you could
Is
have
that why all these rich fucks want to go to outer space?
to get super enlightened.
Yeah.
I don't know. You get out there and you're just like, oh yeah, you just know.
Yeah, I just know.
You're just like,
Bezos is like, I
perfectly
gotta
cool.
get it. I gotta have it.
I gotta
get it. Musk is just such a nerd. He's like, what are drugs? No.
You know what'd be super funny is if they did like some CG and just fuck with people. This would have been the coolest. But like they pop they're on that giant, Blue Origin penis rocket. Like it looks like such a penis. It's so insane. And they all look like penises, but like that one's just like, shut the front door. Why you try to make a penis? Like what the fuck?
Like round?
Yeah. What do you want? Do you want balls or something like hanging from the? What is that? Is that your complete vision? Is that the whole thing? Okay. You send that up through the atmosphere and it goes past. Would it be so crazy if they were like, oh, it's blue sky, and then you just see the edge of the ship, and you just what? And it's like this giant thing just parked in orbit you can't see from. Like, wait, what the fuck? And then you go like that. You get out of there like, ah! It's like, and they're like, shh, it's always there. It's just always has been there.
It's just camouflaged.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
It's the screen that is our sky.
That was those David Frazier things. You watch that JRE or that Lex Friedman with David Frazier? They're talking about the UFOs and stuff.
Yeah.
I was thinking, what if in the future we develop some kind of tech, and by the future I mean like 2065, or like just not super far in the future, just sometime in the future.
Years.
Yeah, and they're out testing it. Well, where do they go to test it? Maybe they go off the coast to test it. Maybe they go to the same place they've always flown their jets and done stuff. So there's just someone hanging out there in 2065 being like, how do the controls work? And they're like, well, turn that dial, and the thing leaves theirs and comes back into ours, and they can, it's like, I was like, yeah, no one's considering time in this thing very much. Like what if it's just us, just not in the deep future, just fucking around with shit around the next corner?
Right. How close are we right now?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I think
we need
it's
the sensors everywhere.
dude. Yeah. Yeah, that's, I think
don't know, probably not.
okay.
I just want to live in the woods, and I don't want anybody else's fucking sensor anywhere near me. All right, that's all I gotta say.
No privacy. That's it.
Yeah.
But if we don't start now, we're gonna lose the ability to do it at all. But we should start as soon as fucking possible, baking privacy into the core level of our protocols around technology.
Yes,
so if you've got a floating sphere that can like gather information, it should be not a demon. It should be like able to communicate in a way that is whole, like once you start having floating like roaming drone spheres everywhere, you're going to need a defense grid around your house that shoots them down, right?
Right.
And then this is just escalation.
Then we're back to stockpiling shit. Yeah.
Yes, but all of it should be encrypted, and it should be anonymized, and we should be thinking very deeply about how the technological level of how those things work affect us societally, because that's what you don't want. What you don't want is a bunch of nanobots in your body owned by some pharmaceutical company that's keeping you alive. And there's like, just keep paying your insurance premium, or
that's what the vaccine it's making a way for these CBDC or CBSD.
CBSD, the CBG4,
the central bank stable coins.
Central bank stable coins. They're in my blood, baby. They're in this, and they're the shot I'm taking.
Yeah.
The central bank stable coins. It's just an illusion.
That's what Moderna and Pfizer is. It's prepping your mind.
It's prepping your mind. Yeah, no, there is
it's prepping you to get your pants pulled down. Your children will never own anything like you did it.
That's someone's fantasy of how the world works. And guess what? In their fantasy, it doesn't affect them or their family.
Do a black line.
They're like, we'll just enslave the rest of the world so me and my kids can be okay, but we're not going to get enslaved. It won't work that way.
We'll always be on top.
Yeah. Exactly. Always be on top.
Sustainable.
Yeah.
Sustainably sovereign. That's what I'm looking for. There we go.
Sustainably sovereign. I like it.
For the utilitarian everyone.
Dude, I mean, in the same way that people sacrificed at the founding of the American experiment, they sacrificed time and energy and a lot of thought and power to like create something that worked in a really good way for a long time. It's the same kind of heroism and vision and execution that we need now. And honestly, the solution has always come from some small pocket of people somewhere. Like one or two people, 5 people figure it out, and then
3% of Americans participated in the revolution or something like that.
Exactly. I love that stat. I had not heard that. That's amazing.
I don't remember where I heard that.
Yeah,
I heard that recently, though.
Right. You're exactly right, though. It's a small, committed group of people that change the world. And I think that's why that's the technological problem right now, is that so many groups have so many different ideas about what that's going to be. And we've got some tools that are freely available that can really change things at a huge scale.
You've got all sorts of tools and a whole industry of people working around open source ideas.
Yeah.
So that's just making puzzle pieces now, baby. Making gears. People are making all sorts of types of gears for a whole new world.
I think we can trust that we can trust there's a part of us that never dies. We can trust that life has always gone on, and we can trust that no one's ever had like the full societal cultural picture. They've all just had to kind of make do with what they have, right?
Everyone's got their little window.
Yeah.
Little blip.
Yep. It's all,
To like wake up, figure out what's going on.
it's all about not getting stuck. It's all about keeping, it's all about being life filled
About
motion.
moving.
Yeah.
You're not moving, you're dying, baby.
That's it. That's it. How can you bring more rich and beautiful motion and harmony to more areas of
Yeah, you're
one
trying to
situation?
dance, trying to surf.
Yeah, surf
out
it.
here.
It's a great
Yeah.
metaphor. It's a great
Yeah.
metaphor. How do you deal with the waves of bullshit, but the waves of joy?
Right. Right.
And there's always
Yep.
bullshit. There's always bullshit. There's never a perfect. I have to tell myself that all the time. I get indignant. I'm like, this corruption or
Excuse me?
excuse me, this failure of the system? I do not understand.
My filter is so clean. How dare this?
Totally. Totally. Which is humor, right? It's humor. It's like fun, like the ability to
Right,
laugh at yourself while you're taking yourself
exactly.
so fucking seriously. Like it really
I'm gonna
matters.
die.
Like it doesn't
Don't give a shit
really
about
matter.
me.
Yeah, it's like, it matters, but it doesn't really matter.
Right. Yeah. Still fairly insignificant.
It is all kind of a stage within a stage, a dream within a dream.
Yeah,
It all
is
sort
still
of
all
works
that.
out. Yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Yeah. Your pain is only as bad as your pain has ever been. So your 10 is fucking still 10 for you.
Absolutely.
Everybody, yep, everybody's got a different, everyone's felt different things. So
That's awesome. Is it about time to get back to it?
yeah.
Right. You want to say something? You want to say something?
No, I was just gonna say bye.
Bye.